Walk in on Monday, don't say anything, hold up a jumper and a spoon and ask your kids which one is colder. All the hands will go up and every single one will say the spoon. But all of that is wrong. The spoon and the jumper are exactly the same temperature. They've been sitting in this room for hours. But here's the uncomfortable bit. We say it too, teachers, parents, all of us. We walk into the kitchen, grab a metal handle and say, hold on, whoa, that's a bit cold. And we've been saying this our entire lives. By the end of this video, you'll have an explanation that breaks this misconception once and for all, plus a demo that you can run in your classroom today. And if all of that wasn't enough, the most important part, the bit that most lessons skip, the engineering reason behind all of this and why it is so important in the world of STEM. If you're teaching kids aged 8 to 11 on materials and properties, this is the video for you. Because here's what's actually happening. A kid picks up a spoon, they feel it and it feels cold. You correct them naturally and say, no, everything is room temperature, and they nod, of course. And then 5 minutes later they say, miss, the spoon is a little bit colder than the table. And you're thinking, what? Now, this isn't because they're not listening. No. What's happening is the hand is telling them something that their brain just fundamentally cannot argue with. And until we address exactly what their hand is doing, this misconception keeps coming back. So here's the rule, and you can write it up on the board if you want. You don't feel temperature. You feel how fast heat moves between you and what you're touching. And that's basically it. Our hands are quite warm. They're about 34 degrees. The spoon and the jumper, they're about room temperature, around 20 degrees. So whenever we touch either of them, heat flows out from our hands. The difference is the speed. You see, metal pulls heat out of our hands really quickly. So the nerves on our fingers notice that sudden drop in temperature and think, whoa, that's cold. Wool or any other type of fabric barely takes any heat at all. So your skin doesn't really notice any change at all. Remember, these are both the same temperature. The difference is the speed at which it pulls heat towards it. But it's a completely different sensation in our hands because our hands are a heat loss detector, or they basically measure the change in temperature. Now, before we go any further, let's address something, because I know someone in your class is going to ask this. Why does metal pull heat faster than fabric? Well, here's the answer. In metals, all the particles are packed really tightly together. So when one of the particles gets hot, it can pass that heat onto the next particle really quickly, almost like a relay team. Wool, plastics, or even wood are very different. This is packed with mostly air, and air particles are spread really far apart, so heat struggles to get across from one side to the other. So think of this as a really efficient relay team and this as a really slow one. Okay, so with the science tackled, let's jump into the demo. So before the lesson, what you want to do is set all the kids' tables up. This is with a handful of items that you'll find in your classroom. So a metal spoon, a piece of cardboard, maybe their school jumper, and something made of plastic or rubber, maybe their pencil case or a ruler. Make sure you leave them in the classroom for a while so they can stabilize a room temperature. Remember, some of them might be in a closet or somewhere far where the temperatures are a little bit different. Once they've been in the classroom for about 20-30 minutes, they'll all be the same temperature. Then the kids arrive and you ask them all, can you rank these by which is the warmest and which is the coldest? Of course, everyone is going to put that spoon as the coldest, of course. And then what you do is hand them an infrared thermometer and you ask them, we'll go ahead and check. Now, this is the part that most lessons skip. This is where the engineering comes in. Because once a kid understands that materials move heat at different speeds, they're no longer learning a science fact. What they're learning is a single variable that people in STEM spend billions of pounds controlling. If you don't believe me, take this laptop that you're watching on. Inside here is a chip called a processor. This generates serious amount of heat. Now, if that heat was to stay there, it's probably not going to be very good for the computer. Now, what the engineers do is attach a heat sink to this to basically draw out all of the heat that the chip is making. Now I've got a super powerful light shining onto me. This actually has a massive heatsink. Let me go get it. Right, so this is the light that was shining on me a second ago. Can you see all of these fins right here? And the metal's job is to dissipate or get rid of all that heat as quickly as possible. And that's the same thing that's happening in one of these. Take this saucepan. The base, of course, is metal made of iron or aluminium. Of course, this allows as much heat as possible through it because we want to warm our food up. But the handle, usually plastic or wood, because we don't want the heat to reach our hands. Now, all of this isn't an accident. Someone's designed it. Someone's designed the pan to be as conductive as possible and the handle to protect us. And you might be thinking, whoa, hold on. My laptop is metal. Why don't I burn myself when I put this on my lap? Well, the thing is, underneath here is loads of gaps and plastic, which prevent all of that heat from reaching the side, which could in fact burn your legs. And once you start looking, it's everywhere, even when there's no engineer in sight. Now take your windows, they're designed so we can see outside them, so we can let the sun in, but it also protects us from the wind. But the thing with glass is it's not that good at keeping the heat in, say compared to like brick. So what do the engineers do? I mean, more fancier glass, double glazing, triple glazing, super nice panels and stuff. They could do all of that, or what everyone else in the world does, put some curtains up at nighttime. A perfect insulator, that nice little bit of air. Exactly the same principle that stops us getting burnt when we put our laptops on our lap. So think about it this way. Every time you close your curtains at night, you're making a conductivity decision and you're keeping your house a lot warmer. And that is the lesson. The spoon isn't colder than the jumper and your hand isn't a thermometer. And anytime an engineer designs something, a laptop, some saucepans, a kettle, they're asking the same question your class just asked. How fast does heat move through this stuff? Once your kids see that, they will start spotting this everywhere. If you want more classroom ideas built around how the real world works, hit subscribe. See you in the next one.